again, I'm Tom and this is Real Six String. So today's lesson, we're going to be working on Chasing Cars by Snow Patrol. It's a very simple song, but we're going to be working on it with a few techniques which will have a really big impact on your guitar playing. We're going to be learning both the lead parts and the rhythm parts, which overlap throughout the entire song. And if there's any of the bits that you don't understand, from tabs to chord diagrams, then there will be a link right here to a future video where it'll explain everything you need to know to get yourself started. And if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, it'd be greatly appreciated. Let's get started. The first thing we need to know is our very first position. So we're going to be starting off on the 2nd fret of the G, the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. So that's this one right here. And it's very important at this point to use your middle finger, which will make a lot of sense when we move on to the next step. So if you're using a plectrum, I'd suggest picking down on the G, and then the other one we're going to be picking is the high E, which is the very bottom string, and I'd suggest picking up on that one. It will make the movement between the two that little bit smoother. Whereas if you're just using your fingers, I'd recommend using your thumb to pick down on the G, and then your index finger to pick up on the high E. And what we're going to do with that one is pick that 8 times. So it's usually 2 bars of 4, but for the simplicity of getting started and counting it, we're just going to do 8. So we're going to count it like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, 6 and 7 and 8 and. Don't forget the ands on the end. It's very easy to only think about the numbers. This first one we're going to call A, which corresponds with the chords that we're going to learn after we've learned this lead part. The next position we're going to call E. So the rhythm stays exactly the same throughout, and there's just a few more positions to learn. So the next one we're going to do, and this is why it was very important to use your middle finger for the 2nd fret there, is that to make that transition as smooth as possible, we're going to be moving to the 1st fret, still on the G, right behind the one that we're playing. So it's just going to be 1st fret on the G, but I want you to move to your index finger. So it's a really smooth movement from here down to the 1st fret. Okay, so then from there, exactly the same. We're just going to do the 8 ands with the thumb picking down on the G, index finger picking up on the E. So it's just going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and. Perfect. The next position we're going to call D. This is the final one that we need to learn throughout this entire song. And what we're going to do is take the left hand here off of the fretboards. You don't want to take it all the way away because we're going to need it very, very soon. So just make sure that you're not muting any of the strings there. It's very easy to have it a bit too close and mute the strings. So we want to make sure it's not touching any of the strings, but do keep it close by. And this next one now, our thumb is moving to the D string, to the 4th string there, and our index finger is staying exactly where it was on the open high. And this is our next position. So we're going to go exactly the same as before. We're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6 and 7 and 8 and. Perfect. And as that is all of the positions that we need for this lead part, we're going to have a quick look at the structure. So we've got the rhythms, we've got the positions, we've got everything we need, but the structure of it is going to go A, E, D, A, which means we play A at the beginning and at the end. It's a really easy one to forget. So it means here, when we're doing it multiple times round, which is what we're going to have to do for the full song, we want to make sure that we're playing 2 bars of A in a row when we're going back round to the start. So A, E, D, A, E, D, A. Okay, so we're going to try and fit that whole thing together. We'll have a very quick practice through now. And one final thing to remember is the ending of it. So on the last one, when we're doing the very final A, we're just going to practice it round these 2 times. So we're going to do the 2 lines A, E, D, A, E, D, A. And after that last A there, we've done the 7 and 8 and we're going to do a final hit with our thumb on the 2nd fret on that G there. Just to finish, it's going to be like 7 and 8 and And that's where we're going to let that ring out. We're going to let that fade to the end. Okay, and so a quick practice through. I'll do a little bit of the counting so you know when to change, but a very important part here for your practice is to try and work on the transitions. There's no point having and having a really jumpy, really choppy change. If you can get used to that slowly, it'll be easy enough to speed up afterwards, but you want to focus on those changes. They're always going to be the slowest part. Okay, so we've got 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 6, 7 and 8 and 1. 7 and 8 and 1. 7 and 8 and we're still on the A. 7 and 8 and E. 6, 7 and 8 to the D. 1, 2. 7 and 8 and A again. Last one. 5, 6, 7 and 8 and 1. And that is the whole of the lead part there. The next thing we need to know are the chords. So we're going to have the 3 chords which correspond with the sections that we've already learned. So we're going to have our A, E, D, A. So our A is this one here. And the way that we're going to strum it, we're going to have all down strums, and we're going to do one for each of the notes that we play in the lead part. So instead of the 1 and 2 and, we're now just going to have 1 and 2 and all down strums, because if you're strumming it down and up, which is what we usually do, you end up with a bit of a too jumpy sort of jolly feel. Whereas all down strums, it's much, much easier to control the dynamics and have the quiet bits. Get that bit louder. And get quieter again. So our first chord, we're going to do the 1 and 2 and all the way up to A and on the A. And then we're going to move to an E here, which is this chord here. And then the next one is going to be the D. But making sure, seeing as we've already learned the structure, that you're following that A, E, A, E, A. Following on from the practice point from before, it's really important to practice the changes as well, because there's no point being able to rush and then having a huge gap between the chords, especially as these are chords which are very, very common and you can use in thousands of songs, especially these 3 in particular, which means these are well worth practicing on their own to make sure that you've got your chord changes that bit quicker. Just to make sure we've got all of that in mind, I'll do one quick run round, but we're literally matching every single 1 for 1 on the strums. So if we go from an A to an E to a D back to an A, for the ending on that last A we're going to do, make sure you do the 7 and 8 and 1. That last one then rings out the same as the lead part does. So we've got 3, 4, 1. And that is our entire song for today. Make sure you follow those practice points. Make sure that you're using a finger for each different fret, and make sure you're working on the changes above everything else, so you make sure the whole thing is smooth, and then you're learning the proper chords and learning the proper movements, which you'll easily be able to move into other songs. This video here is sponsored by the Bubblegum Bopper. He's a fantastic creator, mostly on Twitch, but on a lot of other platforms. Has a channel that is very heavily geared around very interesting conversations, very funny content, which is sort of facilitated by a series of different games, which are all very fun to listen to, very fun to watch, and I strongly recommend checking him out. Anyone who was on the channel before may have noticed that it has been quite some time since I've had a chance to record, had a chance to release any new videos. It's because there has been quite a major project that has popped up in my last 6 or 7 months, which has taken up a lot of my time, and a bunch of smaller projects as well. But I'm hoping very much to be able to keep creating content, keep creating videos, as I'm still teaching more or less full time. It's something which I want to create for my students, I want to create for everyone else. And especially, I'm still here if you have any questions, so if there's anything you're not sure about, or anything especially you want to see in a future video, please do still let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for being here. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.